Hello there everyone, uxwbill here with a long-term update on this Harbor Freight Solar Battery Maintainer product review. It's been about 2 months since I talked about this particular item, and when I made my initial product review there were several of you who commented to say that I had been very unfair to this product, expecting it to bring up a severely depleted automotive battery. And you know what? You're absolutely right. So now I've decided to give it a much fairer test. This is a 1988 Buick LeSabre automobile. Hasn't been driven since I made that last video. I have started it up a time or two, but I haven't let it run for any appreciable length of time. I did, however, take a conventional battery charger and charge up this car's battery. That was about, probably a month and a half ago. Usually if this car sits for any more than a couple of weeks, the battery becomes completely depleted. So I think we've reached the point where we can safely say that I will be making a much fairer test of this particular product by attempting to start this car and seeing if it actually does happen to start. So we'll go ahead and climb in. We'll have to be a little bit careful because there might be wasps in here. I've certainly seen them buzzing around the door sills and stuff. The only good wasp is the heavily dehydrated kind, like the one you see on the dash right now. Because those little boogers, if you make them mad, they don't just sting you once. Oh, they can keep going and going and going. They are the Energizer Bunny in real life. So go ahead and put the key in the switch here. We have dashboard lights. We have a fuel pump, sounded a little sluggish. We definitely have a seatbelt chime, which, in case you're wondering where it happens to be on these particular cars, it's actually right up in this area behind the dashboard trim. But I digress. We'll prime the fuel pump a few times, just to give this car every chance in the world of starting. And we'll go ahead and crank it over, see if that battery maintainer has been doing its job. I would say it has. So I'm going to change my review of this Harbor Freight Solar Battery Maintainer from highly mixed to negative to positive. That's right, folks, this product is okay in my book. It might not be very good in a much newer car with many more computers and things that need reserve power to keep their memories going, but in a simpler, older car such as this, it does a perfectly fine job. There are also some of you who posed the comment that the cigarette lighter in this car might not be hot at all times. Just so you know, it is. And would you look at this little fellow hiding on the rear passenger side wheel well of my pickup truck and trying his, or probably her best, to imitate the color. And here, folks, is where I'm sorry to say that the video is going to take on a much more somber tone. Unfortunately, this 1988 Buick LeSabre's tenure with us is coming to an end. The powers that be have decided that this car needs to go, which I think is a colossal mistake. The only thing that's wrong with this car at present is the fact that it blew a brake line a while ago. I've gotten it running very nicely once again, fixed all of the problems that the engine and its ancillary control systems had. I had really hoped to see this car put back on the road. I'll be the first to tell you it's really not very pretty anymore. The Illinois road salt gets even with absolutely everything. But I still felt that, even in spite of that fact, that this car's body was probably sound enough to see if it would make 300,000 miles. The interior is certainly still in decent shape, apart from where Furhead tried to repair the broken driver's side door card. Very common problem on these cars. He failed and he never tried to put it back together, so the driver's side door is just down to bare metal and the window controls are kind of hanging around. Unfortunately, folks, the bad news doesn't stop there. It only gets worse. I'm having to say goodbye to my beloved 1984 GMC pickup truck. At least that's the way it's looking like it's going to turn out. I'm greatly saddened. In fact, I'm really heartbroken to see this truck go. And I know those sound like very strong terms to apply to an inanimate object. Usually they'd be the kind of thing that I would reserve for a loved one's passing away or something like that. Although when people I love have passed away, I've never really felt that sad about it, because although I'm getting rather more theological than I intend to here in a video, especially a video that I'm going to share with the world at large, some of whom may not really be very polite about my feelings at all. Because, you know, there's just enough terrible people in the world to really darken your outlook on the rest of the wonderful folks, which thankfully are the vast majority of the people who watch my videos. I guess a better way to put it would be to say that I'm just kind of crestfallen because I always had my heart set on restoring this truck to its former glory. Even though I have to admit it is pretty far gone in a lot of ways. But as I started to say earlier, I've always had this, I've never been particularly sad about a loved one's passing away. And I mean a person in this case. Obviously vehicles, they probably don't go to heaven or anything like that because they're not alive. I've just always felt that when someone passed away, they went on to a better place and that I didn't need to be particularly sad for them. So that's why I use those words in the way that I do. But like I say, a better word for this is probably just crestfallen. Because I had such high hopes. You know, this truck had been nicely equipped for its time. It's air conditioned, dual fuel tanks, diesel engine, had an AM radio in it from the factory. Anyway, in its day, this was a very nice truck. But I made a very troubling discovery some time ago. This is the frame of the truck. That's just how rotten the bottom of the cab is. Again, thanks to the Illinois road salt. And just years and years of being driven through it. Over 30 years, in fact. As you can see, there's a big old crack right there in the frame. Maybe I am selling the old truck a little too short, though, because Furhead tried to pull it out with his Jeep. And he yanked it around hard. Oh, he did. Probably was abusing it. Doing terrible things to it. And the poor old truck, it held its ground. It didn't come in two. His Jeep couldn't pull it out. First, you got a big old 6.2 liter piece of cast iron under hood. It's not going to come free very easily. The biggest problem is that there's a lot of memories tied up in this truck. I won't get into too many of them here because I really don't want to get misty on video or anything like that. And I think there might be a very real chance of that happening. But I can remember in particular sitting on my dad's lap, and he let me grab the steering wheel and turn a corner as we went to one of our favorite pizza restaurants. And I was maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time, and it was just an amazing thing. For a little kid, I was on top of the world, you know. But I have to say my goodbyes, unfortunately. Near as anybody can tell, the old horse made it to 219,000 some odd miles on the odometer. I changed out the driver's side door because the window kept falling out of the bottom of it. And that was back in 2001. This was the first vehicle I ever was able to consider my own. Back when I was in high school, I waited to get my driver's license until I was about 18 because I knew I wasn't ready yet. And oh, the adventures I had with this thing. One of them was definitely related to the windows in that driver's side door. Stopped off one day to look at a television set that somebody had put out on the curb. Shut the door, and the window rained right out of the bottom of it. And the starter picked that exact moment to quit. Oh, I was so angry at this thing at the time. I almost called the junkyard right then and there to take it away. Even though it was my own darn fault. I needed to repair the flex plate on this truck. Finally did have it done, and oh, what a difference it made. Started every time you hit the key. I wasn't having to carry a 15/16 inch end wrench with me. Hold down the alternator belt and push the pulley in hopes of turning the engine past the bad spot so that the starter motor could crank it over. I am going to save the tires and the rims. These tires don't have more than maybe 2,000 or 3,000 miles on them, and I don't think they're dry rotted. They're a little soft, but they're holding air. And the rims, although they need a coat of paint, they're almost perfect. Somebody who restores these trucks was getting ready to move away from here, and they gave them to me. So I think I'm going to keep those. I could always find another truck. I could probably even find one equipped like this is, with the air conditioning, the diesel engine, radio, power steering, maybe even some stuff this one didn't have, like cruise control, interval wipers, power locks, and power windows, but unfortunately it just wouldn't be the same. And I don't know when this particular truck's going to be going away, but this is probably the last video you'll ever see about it. and I just thought that all of you deserve to know. Unfortunately, the Buick is probably going away and will be gone by the time that you end up watching this video. Anyway, I've got folks that are waiting on me, so I hate to wrap this up, but I've got to go. I'll see you later. Thank you for watching, and feel free to leave a comment if you have one.